Obviously, thank you very much for coming today and for everything you do for animal rights. Thank you so much for speaking up for animals today and for inviting me along to talk to you. So the animal liberation movement was and always will be a huge part of my life. Like you, I feel it runs through my blood. It is, without a shadow of doubt, the very core of my existence, as it is many of yours. Every one of you is like family to me. We provide comfort and support to one another when faced with the tragic daily reality that non-humans endure at the hands of colleagues, loved ones, friends and more. Animal rights is not just a philosophy, it's a social justice movement that challenges society's view that non-human animals exist solely for human use. We, as animal rights activists, confront the deeply entrenched status quo of vested interests, industry, politics and culture. Together, we have to maneuver ourselves through a society that views other animals as property, as slaves, as objects that are exploited for financial gain. It takes courage to stand up and speak, and every one of you is courageous. But I feel your pain and your heartache every day. From the moment you wake up and you go about your daily lives, seeing, smelling and sensing the suffering all around you. Through high street shop windows, at your family's dinner table, in packages, on supermarket shelves, on walks in the countryside, in the news and on the TV. Every year, each of us knows that 2.6 million cows, 10 million pigs, 14.5 million sheep and lambs, 80 million fish and 950 million birds are slaughtered for human consumption and human greed. Many more are chillingly slaughtered for fashion, cosmetics and cleaning products, human curiosity, entertainment, and at the hands of so-called animal lovers, vets, breeders, and people who buy animals as so-called pets. The burden of knowing it, whilst also knowing that nobody around you cares enough to change, is a huge weight to bear. But despite this, we all know that what we feel is nothing compared to what other animals feel day in, day out at the hands of humans. That's why our team at Animal Justice Project have spent the last few years gathering, confronting footage at farms, slaughterhouse kill floors, animal dealers, stinking farm sheds, animal transportation companies and abattoir larages. Most recently, we infiltrated Morrison's largest slaughterhouse, Woodheads, where pigs just 6 months old were brutally whacked and goaded down the race into the gas chamber. Sick and lame individuals collapsed as they came off the trucks. Their exhaustion and utter despair was evident in their eyes alone. Last year, out of the 10 million pigs killed, 9.63 million individuals were gassed, with Morrison's alone killing 30,000 pigs a week in their carbon dioxide chambers. Carbon dioxide stunning is a method of paralysing pigs before cutting their throats. Branded by DEFRA and the pork industry as humane for decades, the real reason it continues is because it's the only way to kill so many pigs quickly and cost effectively. This horrific practice involves groups of pigs being sacked into chambers and lowered underground, where toxic fumes slowly and painfully suffocate them. The fear and torture endured by these animals is almost unbearable to think about. Footage has shown that every pig can be seen screaming and thrashing, gasping for air, desperately trying to escape for up to a minute. These gas chambers symbolise everything that is wrong with animal agriculture. They symbolise how much the system is broken and how much animals need us to fight for their rights. Even when the behaviour of people is deemed unacceptable and immoral by this government, the punishment does nothing to deter it. Our team have filmed terrified bulls in a Chester slaughterhouse being hit with electric goads and yelled at for almost an hour. Tiny piglets, barely weeks old, having their throats cut in the same abattoir and thrown, still kicking, into the boiling water tank. The punishment? £19,000 fine for the abattoir and fines for individual workers ranging from £160 to £1,395. Legal or illegal, we'll continue to do whatever it takes to show components of the agriculture industries which they are desperately trying to hide from all of us. We've filmed tiny, unweaned and unwanted dairy calves, still wobbly on their delicate legs, at a farmyard where they were traded as commodities for slaughter. Pushed, slapped, kicked, whacked with clothing and thrown down trailers, these tiny babies were viewed as slabs of meat to the traders whose only purpose was to get them to the slaughterhouse. The punishment? A banning from keeping calves for 5 years, 200 hours of unpaid work and a small fine. But perhaps the biggest scam is CCTV, which is now mandatory in all slaughterhouses here. Only the other week, a new government report concluded that CCTV in abattoirs has reduced incidents of cruelty by 11% and therefore had a success. Yet under their cameras, animals are abused by staff, ignored by animal welfare officers and fouled by government veterinarians. But even if the cameras were watched and the abuse inside these hellholes was stopped, what would that achieve? Animals are still dying. There is no humane way to slaughter an animal. The system was set up to fail animals and it always will fail them. We know that, which is why we must fight from all corners. Shine a very public light on the dark world of animal ag, which is cleverly hidden behind glossy PR. We owe it to the animals to show their truth, to show their stories, to raise public awareness, pressure politicians and demand companies ditch animal exploitation. But it is imperative that the animal rights movement controls the narrative. We must work towards animal freedom and the closing down of all slaughterhouses. Let's not fall into the trap of praising small measures by supermarkets, because they are giving chickens a few extra centimetres of room, cage-free and better chicken commitment. Let's get the chickens out. Let's bust the myth that there can ever be humane and sustainable anything. We are a vegan food movement, but we are much more than that. We are an animal rights movement. We are not going to wait until everyone eats vegan burgers before we help other animals. The animal rights movement's goal is to get people to recognise that just as animals are not hamburgers, they are not handbags, they are not props for photos, they are not pests. They are individuals and we must fight for all of them. Animal rights people, like you and me, don't celebrate responsible dog breeders. We don't celebrate humane meat, organic wool or sustainable fishing. We don't campaign for sustaining cruelty, we campaign to end it. Our strong, diverse movement reaches in to all the dark corners of abuse and pulls the victims out. Because we are against speciesism, we know that means we're against cruelty to cows, to pigs, to chickens, to dogs, to elephants, to monkeys, to rats, to all of them. Only handing out vegan leaflets won't achieve animal liberation. We want to stop people from denying basic rights to others simply because they are others. Together, we must never, ever stop speaking loudly about animal rights and actively working to stop the abuse of all animals in labs, live plucked, anally electrocuted, cut up in class, beaten in the circus, left out in the cold, sold in a pet shop, caught in glue traps, kept in cages, hunted, trapped and torn apart. Let's be loud, let's be strong, let's be persuasive, let's be determined, let's be unstoppable, and let's be uncomfortable. As the old saying goes, if not you, who? And if not now, when? Thank you.